before I was a DJ, I was actually listening to quite a wide range of electronic music, I would say. Not actually proper dance music, some of them, because I was listening to like some pretty commercial stuff back then, like maybe Too Unlimited, yeah, Capella and stuff. So what really got me into dance music was actually the radio, because I was listening to 98.7 back then, and then always had on Saturdays the UK top 20 chart or something, and then they had a lot of quite dance inspired. I mean, it's commercial tracks, but you know, radio edits and stuff, but that was what got me interested. So I started to visit HMV last time, where you know the old dance and soul department was still around. And I was like scouring through all the different CDs, you know, and it was there that my knowledge of dance music kind of broadened. And yeah, I was in secondary school at that time, and I was like, which I got to know one of my, my radio crewmate, which was Kenyan. So you know, both of us had this very intense interest in dance music. So we started listening to stuff like Global Underground, and it got me into like, you know, a little bit into the house, you know, progressive house, you know, sometimes trance as well, because I was listening to Sasha and Digweed, you know, when they were Northern Exposures last time. So that was actually my beginnings. Yeah. So from there, I kind of broadened my range because of my frequent visits to HMV last time. So I was like always looking at the CDs and say, hey, you know what, hey, this look interesting. So I would just bring it to the staff there, and I just try out the CDs, and yeah, I started discovering different sounds like Pascal Fios, John Tejada, yeah, you know, and a lot of sounds basically. yeah. So yeah. From there, okay, back then I still don't know, like, you know, what exactly is techno and stuff, but it was my visit to HMV that, you know, they had this very proper categorization of different kind of music. Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, so this is like, you know, this is techno. yeah, so then from there, yeah, I dug more, you know, I went online and read out more about stuff, and also through my, you know, me and my grade crewmates, we always go and find out more about dance music, and it was from there that we discovered like Chicago house, you know, Detroit techno, yeah, and all the different pioneers in the industry. Yeah, I think that kind of sums it all up. Yeah, it's like a progression thing for me. Yeah, to where I am today. Yeah. Thank you.
How about you, Brendon?
Okay, I think it's a little slight portion of my experience or history that I forgot to mention just now. I think what really defined me as a DJ was my trip to New York in 1983. Following my A-levels, I mean, I saved enough money in a Milo tin to sort of buy myself a ticket to get up there, because most of the time when I was going to record shops and buying records, what I would do is photocopy a lot of these pages, relevant pages from magazines like Billboard, the Dance Music Report, whatever the record shop had, and form a little file. And most of the time with Dance Music Report, there was a guy named Brian Chin, who American-based journalist, who used to write about clubs like the Paradise Garage, Funhouse. New York just seemed to be the place to be. So I went there, got whatever I could muster, right? Working part-time at the supermarket. Managed to rent myself a small little room in Spanish Harlem, right? Very, very dirty, dingy, small room. And basically just went out with the boys, Chicano guys who were basically living in the apartment. They took me out to these clubs. So we went to places like the Garage area, the Funhouse, Danceteria, a lot of these places, which you wouldn't normally get in if you didn't know anyone who knew people who were members or anything like that. So it opened my eyes to a lot of music in clubs that we were playing at house parties, but the clubs in Singapore were not. So I sort of kind of realized my perception of where music was, or dance music was in a club sense, was correct then. And the second time was when I started traveling as a flight attendant and going to clubs like Twilo, Danceteria, places around the world. I even took a holiday to Ibiza, went to Pasha, Cafe Del Mar, and a few other places, and realized that my perception again of house music, where it was going, was correct. So I think if you're going to ask me what sort of sound defines me, right, I would honestly say when I started listening to music per se, right, I was probably listening to a lot of stuff that my parents used to listen to, which would be anything from Ella Fitzgerald to Billie Holiday to Connie Francis to Tom Jones, Engelbert Humperdinck, the Carpenters, say Bill Haley and the Comets, anything that was in my mum and dad's collection or my uncles and aunties' collection, right? From visiting their houses at Christmas and just listening to the music that they were playing over time. Eventually, I think I latched onto rock. So my roots more or less started with psychedelic rock bands like Pink Floyd. I don't know if you consider Supertramp psychedelic at some point, but Pink Floyd definitely. Yes, Genesis, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, a lot of other different sort of rock bands, Led Zeppelin.
David Bowie?
And stuff like that, stuff that were in collections of my cousins or uncles and aunties at the time. And then eventually it latched on to disco, right? Soul, funk, disco. And a lot of bands like Parliament, I'd say early Kool and the Gang, Zap Band, Cameo, a lot of that sort of stuff. Branching on, of course, to disco, Donna Summer, Giorgio Moroder, the other stuff that came along in the 70s. And when I started DJing, it was predominantly mostly funk, soul and disco, which eventually evolved, I think, into electronic music when I listened to the first Kraftwerk album that I ever bought, right? And of course the Manuel Gotching album, E2, E4, and then I started getting latched onto electronic music. Fell into the whole British synth pop new wave thing very easily with Depeche Mode, Yazoo. I say a lot of other synth bands or semi-synth rock bands because of the rock roots. You get into things like Spandau Ballet, Duran Duran, Fashion, Classic Nouveau. I say it's a rich history of music, so the music that really defines me would be an eclectic blend of whatever I can play. I mean, New Order was a big influence on dance music as well, Blue Monday and a lot of the other stuff that they were doing. So when I play a set, right, it is a full definition of everything. I would play house, tech, techno, Italio, a sprinkling of probably electronic disco here and there. Whatever I feel fits, connects with the audience at the time as well. There's no one true sound that would probably really define me. I've even gone from a house set to drum and bass set at one point in time in Knox, and I don't know how, a lot of people wondering how I did it, but it was a very simple process of whatever connected at the time, and how you make things interesting. I just find that DJs sometimes dwell on just one sound for an hour and a half, can get pretty one-dimensional. And I think that for me, if I were a dancer on a dance floor, I would want to dance to something that gives me a little bit of a shock to the system. Hey, that's different, but that's good. So that's I guess I look at things from both perspectives, from being inside the DJ booth and being outside the DJ booth as a dancer as well. So I can't say one sound totally defines me.
I would say a lot of the newer generation DJs, they have never been through the actual vinyl record stage, where tracks were hard to come by. You had to really source for them and bring your wanted list to every single record store and say, hey, can you please bring it in for me? And going through crates and crates of records to just find that something that you really really like. Yeah. So I mean, those days were gone. I think. I mean, those are the heydays, you know. And people nowadays, I think, software is the main thing nowadays in DJing. So I think a lot of people are bypassing the proper learning how to beat match and you know proper how you have an ear for sound and stuff, because you know pretty much the software can do everything for you, but it's a choice. You know, it's like. And a lot of people have this misunderstanding that also that people who utilizes DJing softwares are dependent on the software, you know, throughout their sets. That means they are not mixing, they are not beat matching. But you know, I would point out that you know it's actually a choice. You can actually choose not to, and you can still queue up the tracks and manually beat match and stuff. Yeah. So I mean, what is lacking in the scene now probably is I will feel the entire appreciation level for music as an art form. Yeah, I think it's truly, I think kind of lacking in our local scene as of now. Yeah. So I mean the scene has grew a lot because I've been DJing for the past 12 years. You know, so I saw the initial stage when I was a club goer, you know, not a DJ yet, right? So and how it grew to. Definitely, there are some improvements. You know, people are. I mean, there are more people now who can appreciate, you know, more quality, proper underground dance music. Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, right, Brendon, the appreciation level.
Yeah, I think Ming has a point there. I do agree with a lot of what he said in terms of how vinyl culture has sort of been non-existent now with a lot of record shops. In fact, 99.9% of all the record shops shutting down. I suppose this current generation comes into, I don't blame them actually, they come into a situation as it is.
Yeah.
You know, and have no interest in knowing what it was or what it could have been had the whole digital revolution not intervened. I wouldn't say destroyed it, right, to some extent, but I think the joy of buying an LP or a 12-inch single is not just being able to tangibly put something on a turntable, learn to use a turntable, lift the arm, know how to care for your turntable. But people are missing out on the artwork, the information that is on the sleeve, the inner sleeve, the back sleeve, the gatefold internally. They're missing out on a lot of information all in all. And apart from that, I remember a time when we were in secondary 3, one of our teachers brought a record bag into not a record bag, but a plastic bag from a record shop with a few records in it. And it was a shop that we never heard about before. I think it was secondary 2. And it had this big, huge red box with the word "The Attic" in it. And we said, "Whoa, where's this shop? This is a shop we haven't heard of." And he said, "Oh, it's in Lucky Plaza, you know, on the 4th floor." So then we discovered something new there. We have a look at these records, find out what he was listening to. We get a better understanding of what our teachers were listening to in that respect. And I would say our history teacher, Mr. Peng, was very into jazz, right, fusion jazz. So he would have his Dave Grusin albums and his Lee Ritenour albums, and you know, basically anything on the GRP label he would buy. So we went to the Attic and found out it was one of actually the best import store in Singapore, although you had to pay import prices. But yeah, I have a huge bulk of my collection which still has an Attic sticker on it. So I think they got the best imports in the sense they were parallel importers. They weren't going through imports given to them or bought in bulk from a record label or consortium of labels or distributor in any sense. But the Attic basically imported, so you could get albums by Joy Division. That's where I bought my manual gotching album, right? E2, before. I still have it to this day. Not in its best condition that I hoped it would be, but still, right? It was exposure to a lot of different things, and I think even in school then they would expose us. We used to have music classes in school. Though some people use it as a point to ogle the pretty music teacher, or whatever it was. There was still a few of us who actually gained an appreciation for music and how it should be delivered in that respect. And I think the focus on that has more or less either is again non-existent, or it's not a focus at all. Same thing with mainstream radio. Although it is called mainstream radio for a reason, right? There needs to be an alternative so that people who want to listen to something don't have to always go through the internet. I mean, a lot of us who like something alternative, something more underground, something different, even in an indie sense, we all go to either Radio 1 or the BBC or alternative internet programming radio-wise. The public radio doesn't seem to offer anything except Lush, which too sometimes has to conform to a certain commercial standard if it wants to gain listenership. So it's very difficult, I think, for people who are really interested in music to enhance their knowledge in that respect. Bookstores are closing down, magazines are shutting down, so that information, I remember always looking at a copy of music back then when it was existent, IDJ or DJ Mag, right?
Yeah.
Just flipping and saying, so let's see what Sasha's playing this month. Let's see who's, the DJs who put their charts in there, so you get a handle on what some of your I suppose DJs who inspire you, right, are actually playing around the world. It kind of helps. I know some people actually go to HMV and say, give me all the 10 records on this list, I want to play whatever Sasha's playing, right, dude? But at the end of the day, it's like, at least takes them somewhere, they're interested in it, and they buy the records, they know the music, so when the DJ actually comes and plays it, they raise their hands. I won't tell you what track it was, but I was at Maya Jane Cole's gig at Velvet the other day, and she played one of her biggest tracks, which is supposed to be her biggest track, right? Not a single hand, sorry. So, you say you love Maya Jane Cole's, you're out there in full force on the dance floor, but when she plays her biggest track, right, there's not a big reaction. It makes me wonder. It was very, very much more different in the day when people were actually buying magazines, buying vinyl, right, and going out there. They would, I think they would meet DJs, especially guests or international DJs who came a little bewildered because, how do you know my music? How do you know this track, right? It doesn't exist these days. Nowadays, I think if everybody's coming up and exposing themselves to everything in the top 40 cents, right? If a DJ plays Avicii's Levels 3 times in the evening, right, you'll get the same response every 3 times. Nobody's going to say, oh, 3rd time again, why? Just play something else, They're content even if the DJ repeats his music at different times of the night. How many times can you hear Fade into Darkness, honestly, in a DJ set, or Levels in a DJ set, or J-Lo in a DJ set, It's become just very apathetic that way. They don't value it. They just want to sing along to it, and they want to sing along to it as many times as possible for the time that they're in the club. We had a policy before as DJs that if you play that track, it doesn't get repeated. If you play that track at 1 in the morning, right, and you come at 1:15, right, 15 minutes too late, right, you're 15 minutes too late. Come earlier next time. Yeah,